Morning, glory, evening grace, America. On astonishing day, we have an American Pope, Pope Leo the 14th is from Chicago, though he spent two-thirds of his 69 years from outside of the country, mostly in Latin America. More on that as the details develop, but knocked me over with a feather. I thought it would take 3 months, and it took 2 days. And I thought you could never have an American, and we got an American. Luckily, I got Senator Mike Crapo from Idaho here, who came to talk about the Senate Finance Committee and reconciliation. But I'll just get a reaction from you, Senator. Is this the buzz up on Capitol Hill this afternoon?
Well, you know, I live entirely in a bubble that says reconciliation and tax policy. So it's not the buzz in my part of the world here.
Okay, let me tell you what the buzz was at lunch. Are we going to get a good pope or a bad pope? Are we going to get a good bill out of the Ways and Means Committee in the House or a bad bill? There was a buzz that they were actually going to raise taxes in the House bill. What do you think about that, Senator?
Are you talking about the tax increase on the upper income brackets?
Yes.
Yeah, I personally think, you know, I'm focused in the Senate bill on pro-growth tax policies and permanence, particularly for the TCJA. And increasing those taxes does not fit that standard, in my opinion. So right now, I'm not excited about the proposal, but I have to say there are a number of people in both the House and the Senate who are. And if the president weighs in favor of it, then that's going to be a big factor that we have to take into consideration as well.
Well, you know, Senator, I'm just going to give you the quick and dirty at lunch. No, that can't be true. With 4 Republicans, 4 conservatives. No, that can't be true. We hear ways that Jason Smith would never, ever raise taxes. Everybody knows Republicans don't raise taxes on the highest income. And I said, call me, and I'll be talking later with guys from AFP and others. I just think politically it's Dick Darman in 1990 and the end of HW. Do people forget what happened the last time Republicans raised taxes?
Well, I'm not in a position to speak for what the House may do. I've been very careful not to do that. They don't like it when I do. But bottom line is, like I said, I agree with the sentiment that you're expressing. And that is, as I've said, I'm focused on what is pro-growth tax policy and permanence for the TCJA, and this doesn't fit that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that, because I think the more people come out and say that doesn't fit that, the better off we are. Maybe they can get back to a quick rethink. Senator, are you working independent of the House? Is the Finance Committee, I know, talked to Senator Lankford about it. Are you going to put your own bill forward from the budget as a first draft, so maybe you guys get ahead of the House, which has gone off the road here?
Well, we won't try to get ahead of the House. In fact, I expect that you will see some kind of a print from the House within a few days if they stick to their latest deadline. But yes, we are working very closely with the House. This is, as you know, extremely complex, both on the tax policy side and on the spending and reform side for some of our programs. And we are constantly in communication with our House counterparts. And I believe in the end, there will be a significant amount of overlap between our 2 approaches, but there will also, in the end, be some differences. And those differences are what will be managed in a way that it is always handled in the Congress, and that is there will be a House bill and a Senate bill. And where there are differences, we will conference.
You know, that is, to me, it makes sense. It also makes sense to get it done by July 4, which is the date I think Jason Smith told me the last time he was on. Is that unrealistic, or is that doable, Senator Crapo?
Well, I'm not one who sets deadlines or tries to meet others' projections. And so I'm not going to say yes or no on the July 4th deadline that has been set. I will say, though, in answer to your question, that I think we need to act as quickly as possible. We cannot let this linger for too long, because the longer it waits, the harder it is to get it done, and the harder it is to get it done well. So I would hope that we can be acting as quickly as they are talking about doing it in the House. Remember, the House says they will be done by July 4th. I hope that they're done way before that, and that we have an opportunity to be ready by then, but I can't tell you that I can guarantee it.
Now, there are other ways to raise revenue. I know there's a big gap in the budget. I think it's a $500 billion projected deficit over the 10 years that you have to fill, and the more you can raise from revenue, the more. But there are ways to raise revenue, both auctioning of bandwidth, of land. You can open up a Roth conversion window at a flat tax. There are lots of ideas out there. Are you looking at ways to raise revenue at the same time that do not scream tax increase at people?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you just described a couple of them. I've been talking to some others about different kinds of revenue raisers, if you will. And there are parts of the tax code where we can make reforms that don't amount to a tax increase, but avoid tax evasion and deal with a number of other types of revenue increases that can come from dealing with those who are avoiding our tariff policy and things like that. So, yes, we are looking at ways to raise revenue.
Yeah, Senator, you're the chairman, so I might as well talk to you about it. I am enamored of the idea of a flat tax on a conversion of traditional IRA and 401ks to a Roth because I'd do it tomorrow. I'm old enough to do it. Just take everything out of retirement and pay 15, 20%, whatever the flat is. But otherwise, I'm not doing that. I think it would be a windfall. I believe we've got $20 trillion eligible for a conversion if you open that window. Is that on your table?
It is on the table, and there are a lot of, I should say everything is on the table, and really there are hundreds of proposals that deal with both raising revenue and spending revenue in terms of tax policy. But yes, that is on the table. We're trying to get scores on that as well as many, many other items. And there is some controversy about that proposal, as you know, but there's controversy about every single proposal we're looking at almost. And so all I can tell you there is it's on the table and we are evaluating it.
Let me ask you the last and toughest question. I save it for last. I'm an agnostic on the SALT deduction. I really am. I know what the president ran on, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on some overtime. But I'm an agnostic on the SALT because I don't live in a SALT state where Virginia is not that bad. What is the current state of play on the SALT deduction? It's not, I know the New Yorkers and the Californians are begging for some relief, but what do you think?
Well, you're right. New York, New Jersey, and California are almost entirely the three states that are at issue here. There is no senator in the Republican caucus who is from any of those states, and there is no interest in the Republican caucus to raise the cap on SALT. That being said, this is a matter of getting 218 votes in the House and 50 votes in the Senate. And that means the House can lose 3 votes, the Senate can lose 3 votes. There are more than 3 House members in the House from New York, California, and New Jersey. And so the House has an issue to deal with here. This is not one that we are trying to tell the House how to deal with. We would rather just stay right where we are and not raise the cap. But I do believe that the House is going to have to deal with it in some way in order to get the votes to pass the bill.
Chairman, this is not specific. I don't know why anyone would sign up for your job because reconciliation makes my head hurt. And I'm pretty good at most of this stuff. How long do you have to actually be in the Senate before you understand the reconciliation rules? Because I still don't. I've been following it for 25 years. I still don't understand the reconciliation rules.
Well, you asked for how long it's going to be. It takes more than 25 years to understand it. It is as complex as can be. And I have the best staff on the Hill. I guess that'll make a bunch of my colleagues unhappy, but I have the best tax staff on the Hill and the best experts on reconciliation. And they educate me daily as we work through these various issues. The bottom line is it's a very complex process. And we have the Byrd rule in the Senate, as you know, that makes it even more complex in the Senate. And we literally have to go through every issue with a fine-tooth comb. We have to get scores from either joint tax or CBO on every proposal, whether it raises revenue or costs revenue. And we then need to determine whether those proposals will pass the Byrd rule. And all I can say to you is, don't feel bad that you've been looking at it for 25 years and you still don't understand exactly all of its complexities.
Well, go with God. We ended up with an American Pope, so anything can happen. Maybe we'll get a reconciled bill that passes both houses and the president has a big signing ceremony on the 4th of July. Stranger things like an American Pope have happened. Chairman Crapo, thank you for joining me. I look forward to talking to you as this goes forward down the road, and I very much appreciate the time today.
Thank you. I appreciate the chance to visit with you, and I look forward to doing it again.
Thank you, Senator.